fire in my chest and the air fills my lungs. I'll hold my tears and I'll trade my years for a glimpse. Kingdom come. On the other side of misery is the world we long to see. The strife we share will take us there to relief and sovereignty. Oh, by God, we'll have our home again, and by God, we'll have our home. By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet, and by God, we'll have our home. In our own towns, we are foreigners now, and our names are smashed and cursed. The headlines smack of another attack on the last and on the worst. Oh, my fathers, look down on me, and I wonder what they feel to see their noble sons driven all beneath a coward's heel. Oh, my God, we'll have our home again, and my God, we'll have our home. By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet, and by God, we'll have our home. The way is dark and the road is lost, and my eyes strain to see. I struggle forth to find a friend who light the way for me. Oh, my brothers, can you hear my voice, or am I all alone? If there's no fire to guide my way, then I will start my own. Oh, by God, we'll have our home again, and by God, we'll have our home. By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet, and by God, we'll have our home. With my way lit, I gaze upon it, at the dream we all share. A peaceful life with the child and the wife will be waiting for us there. But if we'll march on and fight till the dawn, how lost it all will be. They'll take it all, leave us dead against the walls, and our sons will never be free. Oh, my God, we'll have our home again, and my God, we'll have our home. By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet. Oh, my God, we'll have our home. Oh, my God, we'll have our home again, and by God, we'll have our home. By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet, and by God, we'll have our home.
You'll be back! Emu can't help people customize and save with Liberty Mutual.
Doug. Well, I'll be. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Take me home, to a place where I'm safe, where the walls don't seem to close. Take me far, so far away, to a place where I'm safe, anywhere outside of my Take me home.
Shh, everyone quiet down. Hide in the corner, get on the ground. There's a shooter with a lot of rounds, and he grew up a problem child. His parents went out of town, took the gun in his father's house. Yeah, I hear the sirens howl, but the police are not around. And they're waiting outside. How many will now die? And really we all know that it won't be the last time. This is America now. It's terrible how we will allow a parent to bury a child time and again. It's like a merry-go-round, another mass shooting on the news. We'll forget about them soon, every last student. But I represent the kids in the classroom. Growing up, no, never had the chance to it. I'm the person you left tied under her gas with a certain lead death that a man threw it. While the politicians have a set excuse, someone save the kids from these bad news.
Take me home to a place where I'm safe, where the walls don't seem to close. Take me far, so far away, to a place where I'm safe, anywhere outside my way. Take me home.
Dear God, it's me again as I come to you for one last time. I know we don't talk much, so I don't expect you to grant my one request, though I confess it's hard for me to not ask why. Why are we losing so many kids? If you exist, show me a sign. I wanna believe you without a doubt, but I feel like they don't forgot about. What were you when they were screaming out? What were you when they were bleeding out? You take them there, far away from this place, they're scared. Hiding in this classroom so long that it feels like the walls don't hold no air. Cause time's up, kids start running, they dive, ducking, go find cover. While the suits and ties up in Washington get the blood money and then hide from us. Fake tears, man, I call bluffing. We got kids dying, but don't do nothing. Cause to them, the dead are just another number. Man, I hate to say another shooting's coming, but it is.
Take me home to a place where I'm safe, where the walls don't seem to close. Take me far, so far away, to a place where I'm safe, anywhere outside my way. Take me home.
Welcome to stream, everyone. On this day, 14 years ago, was the Alabama super outbreak of April 27th. This outbreak killed over 3,000 people, or injured 3,000 people, and left over 300 dead or injured. Today, we will go over the history of this outbreak, telling you exactly how many died on this day. And how many more will die due to severe weather in the United States. And how important it is to get prepared. No, this is no joke. Every day people die due to severe weather. Every day. It shouldn't be this way. The April 27th Alabama super outbreak lost its title. One of the tornadoes in there in that super outbreak lost its title to the Joplin tornado as the costliest tornado ever. Yes, that's right. So this stream is to remember the lives lost on this day in 2011 and tell you how important it is to prepare for severe weather like this. For severe weather like this that could happen in the future. So, now to give some of you a little bit of background. Um, Now, just give some of you a little bit of background. We are going to go over the setup behind the outbreak.
Well, 11 years ago, one of the deadliest and most destructive tornado outbreaks stretched over 3 days and 26 states, but Alabama was hit the hardest. On April 27, 2011, 62 tornadoes formed throughout Alabama over an 18-hour period. They created more than 1,200 miles and $4.2 billion worth of damage that day. 253 people died statewide, including more than 100 North Alabamians. Meteorologist Aaron Ayers is in studio tonight, and he's got a closer look at the science behind that day. Aaron?
That's right, Danielle. I'll just start out by saying that this event was pretty well forecasted by the folks over at the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma. They had severe weather risk across Alabama 7 days out. We knew this because of all the ingredients that were coming in place for the setup. Starting in the upper air, we had a negatively tilted trough. That's a key indicator for some strong to severe storms. We also had a jet streak, just really strong winds of the jet stream above Alabama, and then wind shear. That is the changing in the direction or speed of wind with height that allows for rotating storms to develop. And at the surface, this was the setup on the day. We had very warm, moist air that flowed across the state. That allowed for a very unstable atmosphere and for those storms to start firing up as we went through the day. A radar recap of the day. We had showers and thunderstorms already going on early the Wednesday morning as we rolled through the early morning hours. That was round one. We had 3 rounds of strong to severe storms. Round 2 came through the middle of the day with more supercells starting to fire up across northern Alabama. Then another break as we went into later afternoon. That's when the bigger storms really started to fire up around the Birmingham area. And you can actually see in the radar recap here the hook echoes that came with several of these storms that produced very large and dangerous tornadoes. It was a very devastating day across North Alabama and across much of all of Alabama. Jerry?
Indeed it was.
Indeed, it was. And so, that was only the setup. Now, let's go into the damage and the outbreak itself. This was a day before the outbreak had begun. This was before the storm got to Alabama. April 26th, 2011. p.m.
The 26th was a calm evening in central Alabama and southwest Mississippi. The Storm Prediction Center and National Weather Service were urging the public to prepare for a possible tornado outbreak that would unfold the next day. But there was no amount of preparation in the world that would prepare everybody for what was about to happen. Within the next 24 hours, hundreds of tornadoes would change many towns for good and leave hundreds of lives and families permanently affected and scarred for life. In this short documentary, we will look into the tornado outbreak sequence that caused all of this to unfold and touch on some of the horrific tornadoes that solidified this day into the history books and unfortunately the minds of many victims. As the sun set, the terror would begin. This is the story of April 27th, 2011. The super outbreak. But first, let's look.
This is where I will now give a content warning. Some of this next imagery might be disturbing to some viewers. So, if you find anything disturbing, please respectfully exit stream and come back later. But for now,
let's look back at 2011 as a whole before the 27th. The year 2011 started off pretty quiet, with January only having 9 tornadoes across the United States, which is a little bit below average. February was more significant, with over 63 tornadoes occurring across the US, 13 of them being EF2+, injuring 9 and killing 1. March would be considered average, with around 75 tornadoes across the US, with 9 being significant, injuring 17 and killing 1. Then we have April. If you've never investigated historic weather before, you're looking at history right here. This is the most active tornado month ever recorded, as well as one of the most deadly, killing over 363 people in 1 month. There were 2 extremely notable outbreak sequences in the month of April. The April 14th through 16th, which had some major tornadoes crossing through areas near Jackson, Mississippi and Tuscaloosa, Alabama. An ironic note considering what other outbreak sequence happened a few days later. It's also good to note the tornadoes that happened in North Carolina and Virginia on the 16th. Then there's the April 25th through the 28th sequence. April 27th alone killed over 300 people and injured almost 3,000. What made this sequence so significant, but more importantly, so deadly? A moderate risk is situated across areas of East Texas, Southeast Oklahoma, Northwest Louisiana, and Central Arkansas. A massive convective complex is roaring across the Ozarks in Central Arkansas at the time. A cluster of supercells shoot out ahead of the squall, which already produced 2 strong tornadoes previously. Around 6 p.m., the first really notable tornado of the day forms. This tornado was rated EF3 and tracked for 17 miles, sadly killing 1 person. The same supercell would produce another EF2 around 6:40 p.m. This tornado was 1.6 miles wide and tragically killed 4 people during its very long 68-mile trek through the Ozarks. Around midnight, a short-lived but destructive tornado impacted the Fort Campbell Army Airfield and was rated EF3, barely leaving the perimeter of the field. April 26th was a high-risk day, with a 30% chance of significant tornadoes over the exact same region as the day before. There were a few EF2s in the 26th, one of which was a rain-wrapped tornado near Shreveport, Louisiana that tracked 42 miles, but nothing extremely notable happened this day. If anything, the most notable thing the 26th did was set the stage for the horrific events that would unfold across the southeast the following day, where some of the most volatile conditions ever recorded would assemble over the southeast and unleash hell on Earth.
And unfortunately, we are under the greatest risk possible for tornadoes. And we're pulling out all the stops. We're under what's called a high risk for a lot of severe weather, including long track, strong to violent tornadoes. Birmingham, Anniston, Gadsden, Huntsville areas, Tuscaloosa, we're in the bullseye of where this may occur. We could see just a horrific event unfold for us. I really have been saying a lot of prayers because I think this is going to be a very nasty outbreak of severe weather today.
The supercell near Shreveport from the previous day forms into a large squall line with embedded supercells overnight and enters Mississippi very early on the next morning. This portion of the event was extremely notable, mainly due to the large amount of tornadoes that all happened extremely early in the morning, and a lot of them being very strong, which is normally not common from a squall line. This graph shows the tornadoes that happened on the morning of the 27th alone. These tornadoes, as well as the intense straight-line winds that occurred across Mississippi and Alabama, would knock out power and cell communications across the states. These outages would later be detrimental, as it would cripple the stream of information from news agencies and the National Weather Service to the public. This is believed to be a contributing factor to the tragically high death toll this day. At around 1:30 p.m., supercell thunderstorms begin to fire in the open warm sector, and around 2:30 p.m., the supercell just to the northeast of Jackson, just outside of the town of Philadelphia, goes on to produce the first violent tornado of the day. The Philadelphia, Mississippi EF5 was the first EF5 of the outbreak, which had maximum estimated wind speeds of 205 miles an hour and tracked for 28 miles, unfortunately killing 3 people who were all at the time inside of the same mobile home. This tornado at one point scoured pavement from roads and ripped 2 feet of topsoil out of the ground, leaving fields completely ruined. This ground scouring is still one of the most intense spots of damage ever recorded by a tornado, and is still the deepest ever recorded ground scouring from a tornado. This tornado, keep in mind, was happening in conjunction with the Coleman EF4, which developed in northern Alabama exactly 10 minutes after Philadelphia, and would drill into the ground for 47 miles, killing 6. At around 2:50 p.m., the new Wren EF3 develops, which is the direct predecessor to the Smithville EF5, which I will shortly be talking about, but I just wanted to mention it for context purposes. At around 3:05 p.m., the Phil Campbell and Hackleburg EF5 would develop just near Hamilton, Alabama. This tornado was on the ground for a whopping 132 miles, the longest tornado path of the day, and had estimated maximum wind speeds of greater than 210 miles an hour. As a result, multiple towns were very violently damaged or completely torn apart. A Wrangler jeans plant, which was constructed to purposefully withstand high-end tornadic winds, was completely obliterated. The Browns Ferry nuclear power plant had an extremely close call to the tornado, but regardless, they had to scram all 3 reactors offline because of loss of external power, which, because of the reactors being offline and many transmission lines being down in and around the area, a large portion of northern Alabama would lose power, as this is the second largest nuclear power plant active in the United States. This tornado, unfortunately, would go on to kill 71 people along its 132-mile long path, making it the deadliest tornado of the entire outbreak. Around 3:40 p.m., shortly after the new Wren EF3 dissipated, the Smithville EF5 would literally drill into the ground, immediately producing damage reminiscent of only the highest-end tornadoes. Within the tornado's 37-mile long path, it managed to do some of the most intense damage ever recorded from a tornado, had estimated winds of 205 miles an hour, tragically killing 23 people, mostly in the town of Smithville alone. The Smithville tornado would go on to produce ground scouring similar to the Philadelphia EF5 that formed an hour earlier, which is evident in aerial shots toward the beginning of its life. This tornado did such an assortment of violent damage, I'm just going to mainly list the extreme damage indicators that were found in the town of Smithville on the screen in front of you, and I'll provide a few pictures here right now just to showing a few of the damage indicators, as some of the pictures are a little bit iffy for me to use. I personally think from the sheer damage that Smithville caused in such a short amount of time, I'd say it's probably one of the more scary tornadoes of the outbreak, definitely sitting up there with tornadoes like Hackleburg and Rainsville, which I will be explaining here soon. One thing remains unchanged though, and that is Smithville is one of the strongest tornadoes to ever touch down on this planet, and most likely will be for an extremely long time, almost uncontested. At 4:45 p.m., the most infamous tornado of the day would appear on the ABC 3340 Skycam, touching down just southwest of the city of Tuscaloosa. This tornado was rated EF4, with estimated peak wind speeds of 190 miles an hour, sadly killing 64 people and injuring a whopping 1,500 people.
My, oh my. Yeah. This outbreak did a lot. A lot.
This tornado went straight through the center of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, a city which at the time had a population of around 89,000 people, and would continue for 80 miles into the northern suburbs of the Birmingham metro. The Tuscaloosa-Birmingham tornado alone caused $2.4 billion in damages, giving it the title of, at the time, the costliest tornado in recent records, which was only held for a short time until the Joplin EF5 happened in May of the same year. The most interesting areas of damage, in my personal opinion, with Tuscaloosa are the apartment complexes, which were almost completely obliterated on this northeast side of Tuscaloosa, as well as the railroad bridge, which was completely collapsed also off to the northeast of Tuscaloosa, where it most likely peaked in strength. At 6:20 p.m., the final EF5 of the day would touch down southwest of Fife, Alabama. This tornado would go on to be known as the Rainsville tornado, as it went directly through the center of town, tracking 36 miles. An entire concrete porch was reportedly removed from one house, as well as a gun safe ripped from another home's foundation, also reportedly having the door and lock torn off. The safe weighed several hundred pounds and was tossed several hundred meters. This is all that remains of a school bus, ripped down to the frame and drivetrain, completely mangled by the tornado. This tornado had estimated wind speeds of greater than 200 miles an hour, and in my opinion, produced some of the strongest tornado damage out of the 27th. The day, however, was still not over, as the risk continued into the night over areas of northwestern Georgia and southern Tennessee, where more strong EF4s would tear across the landscape. The same supercell that produced the Rainsville tornado would go on to produce the strongest tornado in Georgia history, Ringgold, with estimated wind speeds over 190 miles an hour, tracking up to 48 miles long, killing 20 people and injuring 335. The damage looking all too familiar with the tornadoes that happened earlier on in the afternoon. Finally, extremely slowly but surely, the outbreak begins to come to an end as most of the storms start getting into central to southern Tennessee and begin to dissipate as the night goes on. This is the end of the onslaught for the southern states, but the damage had already been done, and the lives have already been affected. $10.2 billion in damages were recorded across multiple states.
My God. That is a lot. And to think that's the actual cost of this super outbreak is insane. I cannot imagine how many lives were affected.
Officially making April 27, 2011, the most costly tornado outbreak in the United States history. The outbreak reportedly killed 324 people and injured over 3,000 others. April 27th had officially solidified itself into the history books as one of the worst natural disasters to ever strike this country, and was officially dubbed a super outbreak, only being comparable to the events of April 3rd, 1974. Meteorologically, almost everything went right this day, unfortunately meaning that everything went wrong for the citizens of the Southeast. I would like to shortly mention the amazing job done by the NWS offices in the region, such as Birmingham and Jackson, as well as many others. Also, including the Birmingham ABC 3340 Storm Team, at the time consisting of Jason Simpson and James Spann, broadcasting the entire day of the morning tornadoes all the way into the night. News broadcast shows like ABC 3340, the National Weather Service, and also EMS teams stationed around the states all helped contribute to helping people in and after the event. Today, many of these towns have rebuilt and continue to improve after these violent tornadoes trashed them. Sadly, not all towns have the same story, and some, unfortunately, still remain permanently scarred from the monster.
It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. Wiped off the map. Never recovered. Yeah.
Monsters that once ravaged these poor people and their unfortunate property on this fateful day.
Hey everybody, Trey here. Welcome back to another video. Back with another case study today, and I have been asked quite a bit to cover this event in a case study video. And, you know, I've had some other video ideas and kind of pushed this one off, but wanted to do this case study on the super outbreak from April 27th, 2011. A tornado outbreak that has really set the bar, at least in modern history, for tornado outbreaks. 199 tornadoes occurred on this day across much of the southeast, focusing on Mississippi and Alabama. And, you know, pretty much any meteorologist knows about this day and its impact. Some of the stats from this day are just incredible. Of course, we know of the famous ones. Of course, the Tuscaloosa Birmingham EF4 here, which you know, that was covered so well by meteorologist James Spann there at ABC 3340. The huge monster EF5 that tore through Hackleburg and Phil Campbell, Alabama. The Philadelphia, Mississippi tornado. The Smithville, Mississippi tornado that happened to toss a Ford Explorer 900 meters into the Smithville water tower, denting that water tower, and the car ended up as a mangled mess, a ball of steel in a ditch a quarter of a mile past that water tower. So just some unreal stats from this day. 90%, about 90% of all supercells that occurred on April 27th, 2011 produced tornadoes. And that is just almost unfathomable. It's hard to put that into context. Trapp et al. 2005 did a study showing that about 25% of supercells produce tornadoes. And on this one day, 9 out of 10 supercells produce tornadoes. That is just unheard of.
That is quite unheard of. I mean, thinking about that is absolutely insane. And this is why the Weather Twin Storm team urges people to get prepared during hurricane season, tornado season, winter storm season, whatever season it is. Be prepared at all times.
And so, this is going to be a really in-depth case study on the meteorology of this event. I'm not going to go in depth on every single storm, the chronology so much that would make this video really, really long. But this is going to be a deep dive into the meteorology behind the event, looking at why, what ingredients came together to produce such a prolific tornado outbreak. And then at the very end, we're going to compare the environment that produced the April 27th event to what was previously known as the gold standard for tornado outbreaks before 2011, and that was the April 3rd and 4th, 1974 super outbreak. So we'll take a look at the environment from the April 27th event and compare it to the April 3rd and 4th, 1974 event. And sneak peek, we're going to see quite a few similarities in the two environments, showing you just how perfect things need to be for prolific tornado outbreaks like this to occur. Just a quick note before we dive in here. This particular article here from the AMS bulletin is a